Hi students, this is Mrs. Lindstrom. In this video, I'll be going over my expectations for being an engaged scholar, not just in my class, but really for any class. So let's get going. First part of being an active learner is to take focused and active notes. So let's go ahead and pause the video and set up your notes according to this lesson title and these two essential questions, which you should be able to answer in a summary at the end of this video. Okay, now in your notes, I want you to complete these two questions here as a little bit of a warm-up reflection. Pause the video for about 2 minutes, pontificating, reflecting on these two questions, and writing down some thoughts right there in your notes. Do you consider yourself to be an engaged and active learner? This is generally across the board. Why or why not? Okay, I'm going to offer us some scenarios. And I'm going to offer some ideas and some thoughts behind how each of these scenarios either reflect or don't reflect what it means to be an active or engaged learner in any class. So the first scenario I have for you is that a teacher is going over the students' group work on some thoughts, questions, and epiphanies. Take a look at this picture. This is what the students are like while the teacher is going over these things from the TQEs. How do you think these students will do on the test? Especially if the teacher is incorporating the things from the TQEs on the test. They're not taking notes, so probably not going to do so well on those specific points when they show up on the test. What should these students be doing while the teacher is going over each group's thoughts, questions, and epiphanies? They should look like these kids. Then when it comes time to study for the test and or write a paper, these students will be successful because they took solid notes, they did not check out when the teacher was going over important points from class, and they will have all that information at their tips of their fingers when it comes time for them to study or write a paper. Okay, here's the second scenario. The teacher is asking students to share key quotes from the reading and is putting them up on the screen for the whole class to see. What should you be doing while these quotes are shared? Think about that for a second. Pause the video and then restart. As a student, you should be making sure to mark these important passages in your copy of the novel with sticky notes, or at a minimum, adding a reference to them in your notes for that day's lesson to review later. As you can see in this picture, someone was clearly doing a good job taking quality notes based upon class discussion and also including vocabulary, as well as putting sticky notes about theme. Here's the second part of the scenario. The teacher is also going over the importance of these quotes and addressing their literary merit. It is your responsibility to add to your notes the things your teacher tells you about various passages during class discussion. Listen for cues, such as when your teacher praises a contribution from another student as good, or hey, great quote, or I'm really glad you brought that up. These things definitely end up being on tests, and they're probably going to be good sources of information or supports for a future argument in a paper. Okay, the third scenario has to do with group work and the benefits of group work. What are we doing when we put you into groups? It's to help you develop communication skills, learn how to resolve conflicts, increase student talking time, because a lot of times we're in a large group discussion. A lot of kids who are more shy don't want to talk in front of the big group. So by putting you guys into smaller groups, it gives people a safer, smaller environment to be able to share their thoughts. It's a chance to share resources, build on each other's strengths and weaknesses, and develop time management skills and organizational skills, especially if you have a time limit to complete a task, and then especially helpful for applying problem-solving skills. Okay, so here's a group work scenario. If your teacher is assigned a group task to go over the assigned reading, it is clear that one or two members of the group did not do reading or come prepared with notes. These same students either sit there with a blank stare, play on their phones, talk to each other, or whatever. Pause a moment, pause the video, and write down your thoughts about this scenario. This scenario is aggravating for anyone who came to class prepared and for the teacher as well. It's bad for a number of reasons. One, it isn't fair to put all the work on the students who are prepared while you passively sit around and take up space. Two, you will not get the benefits of dialoguing about the reading. And even more so, three, you will have no clue what's going on, and it will be totally obvious that you will have no clue what is going on. And that creates awkwardness, which is annoying, and it creates an environment not conducive to learning for anybody, even those who came prepared. And guess what? Much of what is covered, discussed, and presented in after group work is essential for future papers and for success on the test. If you are checked out during and after group work in class, chances are you won't do well on a test or a future paper. Also, let's talk about the transition back to large group discussion or a debrief after group work. Number one, you should be taking notes on what other groups are presenting. This isn't time to just sit back, play around on your iPad, and not pay attention. You should be marking specific pieces of text that are mentioned, sticky note it, or put a reference in your journal or class notes. Don't sit passively and not pay attention to what others are contributing, and pay attention to what the teacher agrees with, qualifies, fixes, or adds to for the discussion. 100% of your attention in class should be given to being present mentally, emotionally, and physically. So remember, to be an engaged and active student means taking organized notes from the beginning of class without the teacher having to tell you, with your lesson title, date of class, writing down essential questions, or if there aren't essential questions, learning targets. Another couple things about being an active student is coming prepared with your homework completed, not just reading an online summary or letting the internet do your thinking for you. This is so you can authentically participate in the classwork and discussions and, learn. And remember, to be an engaged and active student means joining the class discussions, answering questions, asking questions, sharing insights, listening to others, writing down ideas you hadn't thought of, paying attention to directions, getting solid sleep, and eating nutritious food so that you don't feel like a total overtired kind of, mess of yourself in class. If you have sleep and you've had some decent breakfast, some decent food for the day, that'll help you stay attentive and be more engaged. Lastly, it's the student's responsibility to be engaged in the class environment. Even if you don't like the topic, that doesn't matter. We have to do lots of things in school we don't like. Make the most of it, and you may find something interesting comes from it. Success comes from working hard and from not being passive. If you follow my systems for engagement, such as my active reading strategies, my focused note-taking strategies, you will do well in the class and learn a lot. Okay, now to wrap up. I want you to pause the video and reflect on this question for another 2 minutes. Write down your thoughts at the end of your notes. What are you going to do to improve your engagement both in class and at home when preparing for class?